Hi, this is the first video in a series of malware analysis videos that we'll be releasing, so I just want to give a brief introduction to myself and my channel. So I go by the name CryptoCat on Twitter. I'm a PhD student studying at Queen's University, and I've just started a PhD looking at ransomware. I am new to the field of malware analysis, so I won't have all the answers. I won't know how to use all the tools, and there'll be many tools that I don't even know exist yet. So I'm doing this series largely to help myself in the learning process, but hopefully I'll help some other people at the same time. For each video I do, I'll have a general structure. I'll go through some slides describing what we know about the malware or the ransomware that we're going to analyse, and then I'll go into the static and dynamic analysis. For any references that I use, they'll be always in the description, any references to any analysis, write-ups or news articles describing the malware, stuff like that. So this YouTube channel, I'm going to start just by with the malware analysis playlist essentially, but I'm also a capture the flag competitor, and I think I'll do some capture the flag style write-ups or video ups at some stage. So I'm just going to go through my lab setup to begin with. This is a fairly new setup. I don't know all the tools yet. I don't know how to use them all yet. So I've just got a general setup which I want to go through and describe. Okay, so I use VMware Workstation for my virtual machines, and in here for malware analysis we'll be using the Remnux operating system. This stands for Reverse Engineering Malware, and has a lot of tools on it which are very useful for static and dynamic analysis. So you can go to remnux.org, download Remnux, you can have a look at the different tools which are available, and we've got a cheat sheet and stuff like that. It's a very useful operating system if you're just getting into malware analysis, as I am. Aside from that, we need some vulnerable operating systems, so I have really Windows XP Pro and Windows 7 Home here. I'm mainly going to be using Windows 7 Home, and we already have some tools installed. So we have some static analysis tools here for analysing the portable executable, some forensics tools, disassembler, dependency walker, a lot of tools here. As I say, a lot of these tools I'm not an expert with, some I know better than others. And then we have dynamic analysis tools here as well. So we've got some debuggers, Process Hacker, Process Explorer, Process Monitor, Redshot, so we can take a snapshot before and after we run the malware, Wireshark, so we can look at the network connection. Quite often I'll use Wireshark actually on the Remnux system and have it pointing, have a local network set up between them, so that we can just capture traffic that way, because I don't think this is a great way to do it, particularly when looking at ransomware, when it's going to start encrypting all of your files. So this is my lab setup. I have a snapshot of that, so after we run some ransomware or malware on there, we will revert back to the snapshot. Okay, so that's my lab setup and the general instructions. So I just want to say as well, if you have any feedback about these videos, if you can recommend any tools, or if I've missed anything during a malware analysis, just any feedback at all, just feel free to leave them in the comments, and it'd be appreciated. So let's go on to the first piece of malware that we'll be analysing here. It's quite a new piece of malware called WannaCry, which many people will have heard of. And what do we know about WannaCry? So the beta edition was actually first discovered on February the 9th. WannaCry version 1 was found on the 28th of March, and then the WannaCry version 2 attack began on May the 12th. So there's quite a length of time there between the original discovery of the beta. There were a lot of improvements made for each version before the actual attack began. You can find a link in the description which will go through the full the differences between each of those versions. What damage did WannaCry cause? So in the first week it infected at least 250,000 computers in more than 150 countries, and there's a WannaCry Tracker which suggests that over 500,000 systems are now affected. There were a lot of high-profile targets. The NHS was badly affected, National Health Service in the UK, as many systems were still running Windows XP. Systems that weren't were unlikely to be patched. But there were a lot of universities, I think airports and train stations, stuff around the world that were hit by this ransomware. In terms of the profit, the attackers demanded a ransom of $300 from victims, which was said to double after 3 days, and it advised that the files would be permanently deleted after 7 days. There is an option, as far as I'm aware, you can restore or decrypt some of the files for free, just to show that it's possible. So we'll try that whenever we're going through the dynamic analysis. WannaCry, the Bitcoin addresses that indicate that the attackers received less than $100,000 after 1 week, which really isn't that much. It could be due to the low ransom demand. It was universal, despite whether you were a large organization or an individual. You were asked to pay $300. It's been hard to monitor the Bitcoin transactions, so we're able to see that it was around, I think, $80,000 or $90,000 after 1 week. But after that, the attackers started moving the Bitcoins between different wallets, and it's made it quite hard to track how much money they've made. But compared to other ransomware campaigns, it hasn't been very profitable, which is surprising, based on the exploits that this leveraged and the automatic worm component. It's if it had been developed by probably some better authors who'd designed this more carefully, it could have been a lot worse. In terms of worm-like behaviour, WannaCry utilises the Eternal Blue and Double Pulsar exploits. They were developed by the NSA and kept secret for a long time, and then they were stolen and leaked by the shadow brokers. So whenever the NSA realised that these exploits were in the hands of a hacker group, they did contact Microsoft, explain the vulnerability, and Microsoft patched it. But we'll get into that in a second. So in terms of the behaviour of the malware, it actively probes the SMB version 1 server port on server port 445 on the local LAN, searching for the presence of backdoor.double.pulsar. So if it's present, the payload is delivered and executed. If not, a slightly less reliable exploitation route is taken. And although Microsoft patched the SMB vulnerability with the MS-17.010, many systems had not been updated prior to the release of WannaCry, as some organisations were still using Windows XP, which was not patched until after the attack, as it's no longer supported by Microsoft. So although Microsoft did patch this a while before the malware was out, for large organisations, it can actually take quite a while for them to patch all their systems, which is why the malware was still successful. It was hindered, however, the spread of the malware was hindered by the kill switch. So in the code, a security researcher found in the code the malware would actually stop executing, it would stop spreading if it found that the following domain exists. So you can see the domain name there. Now the domain name actually wasn't registered, so the security researcher that found that just registered the domain for about $10, and that stopped WannaCry from spreading further. However, there were plenty of new variants that came out using a different kill switch or just removing a kill switch altogether. If it hadn't been for that kill switch, it was spreading very, very rapidly within the first 24 to 48 hours. If it hadn't been for that kill switch, you'd probably have a lot more than 500k computers infected at the moment. So there is a tracker. You can see here we're hitting for around 525k as of today. There's a link for that in the description, so you can track the WannaCry spread. And I think that covers enough of the general information about WannaCry. If you think I've missed anything important, again, just leave a comment below, and let's jump on to the analysis of the ransomware. Okay, so we're just going to start by going through some basic static analysis here, and then we'll go through some basic dynamic analysis. Get a chance later, I might go on to some advanced static and dynamic analysis, but as I say, I'm not an expert with either Pro or the Ollie debug or Immunity debuggers yet, so whatever I'm going to be able to do in there, it's going to be pretty limited. It's more just going to be having a look to see what the ransomware looks like, what the tools look like. But let's start with the basic analysis. So the first thing we'll do whenever we get a piece of ransomware like this First we want to extract it from the folder. You'll see on the desktop there we have that now, so we'll have a look at the file type. It's executable, 32-bit executable. Okay, and we want to have a look. First of all, we'll just see if it indicates that any packers have been used. Armadillo generally indicates that a packer hasn't been used. Okay, and then we have plenty of tools here for analysing the portable executable. So we can have a look at some information here. We can use, let's have a look first, PE dump. We'll see here, right, so what have we got from the top? We have some information about the headers. You'll see here the different headers, PE header, image file header, the data directory, sections, resources, imports, so what modules have been imported and what functions have been imported from the modules, some version information. You can see the file was originally called diskpart.exe. It doesn't look like a packer was used. That's great. So there are plenty of tools that can do this. We just use PE dump. You can have a look. PE scan gives very little information. Probably packed. The sections are all looking normal. Okay. One of the tools I particularly like here is PE scanner. It takes a little bit longer to run, and you'll see kind of why I like this here. But I'll just skip first on something else. We can also have a look at the strings that are in the executable. By default, this looks for any strings that are 3 characters or more. You can fine tune it to look for less or more, or use some regex, grep out some IP addresses, stuff like that. But we can see some interesting stuff towards the bottom. You have obviously a message folder here, which is, by the looks of it, containing maybe some messages in different languages. We have some EXEs here, which are likely going to be launched or stored in the victim's computer. And then we have a manifest file there, some padding at the bottom. Okay, that's great. So yeah, the PE scanner, it does some of the same stuff that the other tools do, but a bit more. I like it. It gives a quick summary here. We have the MD5 and the SHA-1. You can see 32-bit binary. We have the assembly showing, so this is kind of looking at the entry point. Version information, again, kind of what we saw in the last one. This is quite nice. It looks on ClamAV to see whether it's detected as malware. So it's detected as a Trojan with ClamAV. It looks at the entropy of the different sections. So it's indicated that one suspicious, which normally indicates it's normally probably that packing's been used, but you'll normally see that throughout the sections. You'll see it suspicious showing on 3 or 4 of those. It depends on the discrepancy between the virtual size and the raw size. Then again, we have the imports. What I particularly like about this tool is it gives us suspicious alerts. So these are the functions that have been imported from these modules which are deemed to be particularly suspicious. Okay, and that's great. So I'm going to do what we probably should have done towards the start here, which is open this up on VirusTotal. We'll be able to scan it then with a huge range of antivirus systems and look at a lot of the same information we just looked at. So we can see this was already analysed 5 hours ago. We'll just view last analysis. Got a very good detection ratio. So if it's detected by 58 out of 61, you pretty much guarantee that that's malicious. Not going to be a false positive, and you probably want to avoid these antiviruses for your home PC or business. So again, we can look at the file information here. We can diskpart. We've seen this a couple of times. What's the original name? It's a 32-bit executable. We have the MD5. We have the imports as the modules and the functions that have been imported. We have P resources, so text application /zip. So this is interesting. We will have a look into that shortly. And again, then kind of metadata, version information, what it was originally called, that sort of stuff. Okay, and what it's worth doing as well on, you see here, WannaCry. It's always worth having a look at the comments. So with something like this, you can see here, WannaCry, Ransomware, WannaCry. you're pretty sure this is a WannaCry ransomware. You see here, password. This is interesting. So what's this a password for? Well, we should be able to find out later. Okay, so I'm just going to close that down for now. I'm going to have a quick look on the Windows 7 system, because I have some tools here which are kind of similar to the Remnux ones, but it's good to get a bit of variety here. First, I'm going to look at some of the portable executable ones. So we have quite a few here which are all going to do similar stuff, but you know, it's good to have a look at all of them. Some might show additional information, or you might just find, you know, you really prefer some over others. I like PE Bear, just ignore that, it was trying to retrieve the version information, which we don't need to worry about. So let's open this up. Yeah, this is a good tool. We have a disassembly here of the different sections, .text section there to start with. Up here you have the hex and then convert it into ASCII. You have some information here, the MD5 and the SHA-1 again, some stuff about the DOS header, the file header, optional headers, section headers. There's our imports, our modules again, and the functions that have been imported from them. Okay, resources. So yeah, this tool seems like a very good tool, Windows-based tool. We can, if we get a couple of different samples, we can compare them. So if like a new variant of WannaCry came out, it might be worth putting these in for a comparison, you know. And yeah, so similar tools. What else have you got? I like PE Studio. This is a free version, but you can get a pro version. So, let's open file. I like this one because it goes to virus total anyway. We can see there 58 out of 61. That's on the 8th of the 6th, which is today. It's going to get some indicators. File scores, yep, severity 1. Have a look at stuff about the headers, directories, libraries, sections. Again, our imports, we have here blacklisted, so probably going to be suspicious imports. We might want to have a look at first. Resources, pkzip. So there's a zip file somewhere that we're going to want to try and get hold of. There's a manifest file, some version information. And you can see it's still waiting to pick up more stuff here, strings and stuff like that. Not going to wait for it, I'm just going to jump on and quickly have a look at some of the tools. So we have exe info PE. This is kind of similar format to PEID, which we'll have a look at as well. It doesn't give you too much information, although there are some plugins and additional stuff you can look at here, sections, viewer, stuff like that. So it's alright, it's not really something I use too much, more just to have a look to see whether it's been packed. Close that down. Again, PEID, similar idea. Open that up. Has it been packed? Microsoft Visual C++? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. What else do we have? PE View. Let's open that up. Not a huge fan of the interface here, but you can see again the different headers, different sections. We've kind of got the raw data, the hex, and the ASCII conversion. We've got our imports. Not a huge fan of that tool myself. MD5. Now most of these tools pick up the MD5, so it's not really, this isn't really necessary, but if you just want to get the MD5, verify it, there we go. Filealyzer, set the files to open, so there's a file, quite a lot of stuff here, hex, anomalies, map, bitmap, not too sure if we're going to need that, hashes, version, headers, sections, the imports, with a graph. Yeah, some different stuff on here which would be worth looking at anyway. Disassembly, again, we have all our assembly instructions. Yeah, so that's great. And then virus total as well, so it's going to look it up on virus total. You can submit it, reload it. Yeah, another good looking tool. Dependency walker, so we can have a look at the dependencies. I'll just open it up very quickly just to see what the tool looks like. Errors, okay, at least one module, it's fine. Not very familiar with this tool yet, so probably come back to it in more detail in some later analysis. This is kind of similar to just running strings or PESTR on Remnux, so you can see some of the stuff that we saw a few minutes ago. That's fine. And autopsy, we're not going to look at this one. Because it's basically it's a forensics tool, so we will look at it in some other future analysis, but just not for now. I need to go and set up a case and stuff like that. Another good tool kind of similar to that is FTK Imager for Windows, which I'm kind of more of a fan of. It's different, but more of a fan of. Okay, so Resource Hacker, you can see here PK, that indicates that's a file header of a zip file. So it looks like we've got a zip file in there, which we're going to want to try and find out. I'm going to try and extract that shortly. There's a manifest file. That's great. Okay, so I'm just going to have a brief look. I'm not going to go into much detail, but I'm just going to have a brief look at IDA Pro. I'm going to open this up, and you can see here it's going to load a kind of flowchart of the disassembly. And we can have a look at the control flow, the logic flow of the program. You see here this task sked exe is going to be launched by the looks of it, or we're going to be spawning that as a file. We have here that password that we saw, virus total, so that's interesting. We're going to come back to that. And yeah, we have a lot of functions here. I'm not an expert with IDA Pro or assembly language yet, so no point in me going through this in too much detail because I can't. But yeah, we have some subviews here, so we can have a look at like the strings in it, like we've done in a couple of other tools. See here, WannaCry, okay, crypt encrypt, crypt decrypt. We can have a look at the hex, imports again, those different functions. Yeah, so it's a very complex tool. There's a lot you can do with it. We can attach a debugger at some stage, and we're going to start looking at debugging. But again, I haven't been through too much of this. So what I'm going to do is close that down. I'm just going to go and have a look and see if we can get that zip file. So go back to Remnux. There's a couple of tools. You can use binwalk to extract files from executables. I'm going to use here Foremost. Don't worry about that, just clear it. And now we have an output folder. So if we're going to have a look at output, in there we have an exe and a zip folder. So just have a look. Oh, I don't actually have a tree. We'll get that. Okay. This didn't really need to do that, but I kind of like using tree just to, if you have a lot of folders in there, it's good to get a visualization of the folder structure and what kind of files are in there. But anyway, let's have a look in the zip file. So zip, now we have a zip, let's unzip it. And okay, password, it's asking me for the password. So the password, there we go. And there we go, correct password. So we can see what it's extracted here. There's the messages that we saw, kind of listed in the strings whenever we were looking earlier on. So let's just go and have a look and see what we've got. So let's go to output. We have our exe file there. That's going to run the actual malware. We have the zip, which we've now extracted. So we extracted this. We were left with this stuff here. So this is a picture. That's going to be the desktop background whenever the ransomware runs. We have a message here, so messages in different languages. If we have a look at the English one, it looks like that's going to be our ransom message, so yep, that's right. And then we have some other executables here, some other files that would be worth analysing. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to leave that for now. So that's great. We're going to go on and do some basic dynamic analysis now. So we'll just get that set up. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the dynamic analysis here. There's a couple of tools that we want to open first of all. So I'm going to open Wireshark. I'm going to use that to start capturing the packets, any network traffic. And I'm also going to use Process Hacker. Okay, so we've got Process Hacker there, and Redshot, and Flypaper. So Flypaper, we don't want to block TCP/IP, but we want it to block program from exiting and record behavior. That'll just stop any processes that are spawned from actually quitting straight away. And that should be fine for this. So first we will start Flypaper. next we're going to take the first, actually first I'm going to just start running Wireshark. So there we go, starting the capture, and we'll take our first registry shot. Okay. There's our first shot taken. That's great. Okay, so we want to keep an eye for what happens here whenever we actually launch the malware. Okay. So we can see some process is spawned here. WannaCry Killswitch. There's a few different processes spawned. We can see the desktop has changed. We've now, our files have started to be encrypted. There's a lot of stuff here on the desktop. WannaCry Killswitch. So that's going to be just kind of looping through, let's say, and encrypting the files. And there we go. Okay, so it spawned quite a few. It's spawned a few different things there. We now have our ransom note. So we saw this kind of message when we were doing a static analysis. The payment will be raised, it says, after 3 days. Files will all be lost after 7 days. We need to send $300 Bitcoin to this address. We have a check payment option, which is going to connect to the server and check the payment. Okay, so we have a contact option, so we can just send them a message if we need to, and decrypt. So it does actually say here you can decrypt some of your files for free. So if I hit decrypt, select a host to decrypt. Okay, start. Okay, so it's saying that it's decrypted these 6 files. If you want to decrypt more, then you're going to have to pay. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try and stop some of these processes from running for now. So just suspend those processes. I'm going to take a second snapshot of the registry so we can compare and see any changes that might have been made. Okay, so there's a lot of hex there. It's not exactly sure what's happening, but we can see it looks like there's a strange name there for what's been run as taskscheduler.exe. You can see here there's 3 keys added, including WannaCrypt. And what have we got down at the bottom? User assist. Again, some interesting names there. It's a kind of randomly generated names. Total changes 19. Again, these names here, although names in the registry generally are quite random looking. That's fine. I'm going to close that for now. Close down Redshot even. So just going to take a look at some other stuff here. So we can double click on this and have a look at some information about the process that was spawned. What can be useful to do is go into the memory and have a look at the strings. And you can see some strings here. This might be stuff that's going through and encrypting. Not saying for definite, but I noticed that Python stuff. I know this was a couple of files that were just decrypted. So might be what's happening there. Not too sure. Close that down. Go and have a look at the WannaCrypt. So same. That's passed in the command line without any arguments. We can go and have a look again at the strings, and we can see actually some messages in here, but it looks like we just saw some messages. So there's the message, the ransom message. So it looks like this process is going to be generating that ransom message, generating the ransom note in general. We have quite a lot of garbage in there, but WannaCry Killswitch. Yeah, okay. And then finally we'll just have a look at this process. Okay, task data tour. Okay, So we can see that we should have task data. Let's have on the desktop, Tor data. So that's actually created the Tor installation for us to go and pay the ransom, essentially. Let's have a look at strings for this one. Okay, we see some web addresses, some IP addresses. Dirty Fingers, Please Free Us, Anonymous. Right, interesting. Not too sure what that's about. Onion keys, so we have some Bitcoin, some Tor site keys here. We have some .onion addresses, maybe for command and control servers or for the sites that you have to visit for the payment. I'm not exactly sure at the moment. We have here directory servers, more IP addresses up here. So these could be used as kind of network indicators. You can actually use regex here, so we could filter out all the IP addresses, we could filter out all the .onion addresses, and block these on the network, or use them for kind of further investigation. Okay, great. So that's fine. I'm going to just have a quick look then to see on Wireshark whether we've got any indicators here, which could be okay, nothing HTTP wise. Okay, I'm not getting too much here at all. So just TCP. Okay, just going to stop the capture there. So there's a lot in here. What we probably want to do is have a look at some of those IP addresses that we just saw. If we filter out those IP addresses, get those into a text file, and then actually filter here by the IP addresses, we'll be able to see what it's trying to contact, whether it's getting any responses, whether it's downloading any additional information, and that sort of stuff. With this much data in here, it's quite hard to really determine what's to do with the malware and what's just general Windows stuff or related to other programs on the system. So that would require, as I say, some further analysis. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to close this down, quit without saving. I'm going to close, that's fine. So yeah, we're infected with a ransomware. Okay, some problems actually closing up now. Okay, looks like the system's crashed out. That might just be actually to do with the not responding. Might be to do with the fly paper that was running there. Okay, so it's still letting me get around. If I go into documents here, maybe databases, you can see here it's all encrypted. We have please read me. What's wrong? Files been encrypted. What do I need to do? You need to pay $300 Bitcoin to this address. How can I trust it? Just trust us. Okay, well, you can contact them, ask them maybe for a discount. Okay, great. So that's the basic dynamic analysis done. I'm going to go through and just revert this back to the snapshot, so we can go ahead and maybe do some further analysis, more advanced dynamic or static and dynamic analysis. Okay, so thank you for watching. This has been the first in a series of malware analysis videos that will be releasing on YouTube. As I say, I'm not an expert, I'm very new to this field, so as these videos go on, hopefully I'll have more experience, gain more insight into the different tools, and be able to provide some better analysis. But hopefully this provides a good introduction into the kind of tools that are used for basic static and dynamic analysis, and the kind of process of setting up a lab and analysing some malware. If you have any questions or can provide me any suggestions, any information, anything at all in the comments, that's great. And yeah, thanks for watching, and click subscribe.